Hello everybody and welcome once again to Ozymandias' Conquest of the Outer Planets. And we're already in orbit around Tekto. And the Bubastis lander is heading towards the surface. You can see the trajectories mod doing its work and predicting my landing site. However, I have no idea where that is going to be, since, the cloud layers of Tekto are so dense, I have no idea what's beneath them. Speaking of cloud layers, since the descent to the surface is so spectacular, well, first of all we have to gather some science, of course. We've already gathered the science in space high above Tekto. We're now gathering the science in the higher atmosphere, and we're already deploying the air brakes. Had to rename the lander due to some safe game issues. And let's look at that marvelous descent. And touchdown! We are safe on Tekto's surface. Wasn't that something to behold, those cloud layers? Marvelous indeed. Now, since we're here, it's time to do some science. All of those science messages, they have some puns regarding the color green. I wonder why that may be the case. First we have to gather the stuff we have already collected in the atmosphere. Then we have to do it all again. And then let's get back into that lander can and perform another experiment once we're back out, which is basically the surface sample, the EVA, and planting the flag, of course. There we go. A proud flag for proud explorers. Whoops, no, not that far. There we go. And then it's time to blast off into the skies with the mighty aerospikes, which we have to reduce to, well, a lot less thrust than they could perform, because if you want to ascend from Tekto, well, to be honest, you really have to be careful with your thrust-to-weight ratio, or rather your acceleration, because if you go too fast, too quickly, then the air resistance will really mess you up and you will lose delta V really fast. I'm going to skip ahead through this because the ascent took really a long time and my computer crashed several times during that ascent, because as beautiful as those cloud formations may be, they put really a strain on the machine. So yeah, we are now switching between layers. So we're leaving the dark green layer and we're entering the light gray layer. And now we're entering the light green layer. And once we're out of the light green layer, we're entering the sort of orangey yellow layer. Yeah, I don't know what to call it. Could be chloride. I don't know. Pretty sure it is poisonous. But yeah, we're still gonna head through there. And thankfully Thermal Kerman also has his EVA suit, if he should feel the need to get outside, but I hope he won't do that. So yeah, here we are in the orange cloud layer. And we're almost out of the atmosphere. Well, not really. The atmosphere ends at 100 kilometers. But we're doing very fine. Still have to reduce the thrust though. Look at that. Almost done. Looking good. We have still some delta V left. This lander had about 3,500 meters per second of delta V when it was still in orbit. So yeah, we skipped ahead to the maneuver node, and then we do some more noding. I'm pretty sure the ascent could be done a lot more efficiently, but still, I'm quite happy that we managed to get off that surface safely. And with all the science, of course, and we now gather all the science that was left that we have collected during flight. Because right after, well, we took science in the higher atmosphere, we took science from landed at Tekto, and we took science from flying low above Tekto's biomes. So a lot of science for an interesting mission. And now the Ozymandias, of course, heads back to its lander to get it back and to refuel it, and in order to refuel it we will go back to Ovok. Yeah, I have decided that the risk to trying to go to Erlam and landing on one of its moons is a bit too much if the fuel tanks are not full enough. So here we are, we already have our rendezvous. And we're gonna pick up Thermal Kerman and the Bubastis 2 lander. Why Bubastis 2? The first one crashed on Slate. Okay. If you remember, Thermal Kerman was the brave Kerbal that actually survived the lathe episode of my Julishka mission, the journey to Jul. And I'm saying survived because during that mission one of the solar panels got burned up in the atmosphere, and not only one of the solar panels, the only solar panel that was available. So yeah, he is quite the veteran. Thermal is, Thermal. I always mix those two up, Thermal and Doomor Kerman. Those were the two Kerbals that I've used first on my Journey to Jewel mission, and I honestly forgot about the other ones. One was Bob, I think, and one was definitely Jab. But who was the Kerbal that landed on Val? I've forgotten. Too bad. Pretty sure he's around somewhere. That was back when there were no female Kerbals. Since then, since they are now available, I'm always trying to mix up the crews. I'm an equal opportunities space agency manager. Okay, and we're heading home. Well, not home, but at least to our home in space, which is this beautiful beast. Okay, and now, once again, grab the science and deliver it to the science lab. Don't know why I did that voice. I hope you're not scared. Okay, once more, over there. This footage has been sped up extremely because while I was doing the Tekto mission, well, about 4 minutes of in-game activity translated to 25 minutes of video. So yeah, while that mission timer on the top left corner, it counted up the seconds and minutes, it counted up a lot more seconds and a lot more minutes in real time. So wow, look at that, Sarnus once again in the background, looming with his rings, or its rings rather. So we're doing our transfer burn, and while we're doing that we're checking for heat buildup. Still in, well, I can't really say we're in the green, we're above the green and we're in the red. If we were in the yellow, then this would be bad. And once again Slate is helping us out with its enormous gravity. Thank you, Slate, old buddy. Your continuous assistance during transfer maneuvers has already made up for you killing my lander. Well, actually, I killed the lander myself, so yeah. Okay, we're landing on the dark patch once again, since the orbit fell in such a way that this was reached rather easily. Otherwise I would have went to the poles again. But yeah, I'm skipping ahead once more, so you don't have to suffer through the entire ordeal. We can see the first flag we've planted in the background. No, we're not going to plant another one. Let's do this really good. So setting our orientation right. And then skipping ahead once more to the final burn. We've already turned around a bit because this will enable us to land a lot more smoothly, I guess. I hope so. And whoops, bouncy. Okay, get down there. Burner engines firing. And yes, here we are, and we're extending the drills and the solar panels, and we're beginning our refueling operation, which has already finished thanks to the power of video editing. So there we go. We're away from Ovok, and the next stop is Urlum, or Urlum, or however you pronounce that. It sounds a lot better than Uranus, at least in English. In German, my native language, it's called Uranus, so yeah, that sounds a little bit better, and it does not have that really weird connotation that Uranus does. One final look at Sarnus before we leave for good. Thanks for watching. See you on Urlum. Goodbye.